Right, here we are, another week around the trash fire. Your host Matthias, along with the boy,
John.
and our returning boy has finally come back.
It is I, Will.
Will, welcome back.
I feel very welcomed.
You have been missed.
All it took was Age of Sigmar releases, and I still didn't come back even for that. But Age of Sigmar rules apparently is all it took.
Hey, well, you mean you got to know what to expect in the new edition.
It is true, and there's a lot of exciting things to talk about. This actually might be the most excited I've been to discuss rules ever on any of the episodes I've been invited to. So yeah, there's some fun stuff to talk about.
That's good because I'm giving up on rules, so that'll be a nice balance.
Well then, well, I guess before we get in, I'd like to get your thoughts really fast on the new starter set, Age 3.0 starter set.
Oh, you mean me?
Yeah, you.
I mean, there have been a lot of starter sets over the years for both game systems. This is the only one where I am equally excited about both things in the starter set. Both sides are incredibly cool to me. I think this is I mean, not to sound like Games Workshop is sending me money, which I no longer work for them, so they don't anymore. But this could be the coolest starter set they've ever done. Um, the fact that it does such a good job of being new Hammer and old Hammer at the same time, I think is a real triumph and speaks to their design. Like they thought about this pretty carefully, but they still took some big risks with it. The Stormcasts have some really out there stuff in there, like the angelic hero character, um, whose name escapes me at the moment. Starts with a Y. Indrasta, I think it's Indrasta.
Interesting.
She is really cool, and I also just think everything for the Cruel Boys is incredibly exciting. The box, unlike the last two Age of Sigmar starter sets, um, has kept in mind something that's really important for Warhammer. It has a sense of humor. Those two, the Stab Grot and Pot Grot, uh, that's such an important part of why Warhammer is more than just incredibly self-serious, grim dark facelessness. You have even just those two little joke characters goes a long way. It calls to mind the Nurglings from the Dark Imperium set that are being squashed by the Lord of Contagion under his boot. It's subtle, more subtle than Stabgrot is, but it's nice to see it. I feel like they've really captured the setting and what's good about it with this box. I can't wait to get it. Super cool. No, pretty much nothing negative to say about it at the moment. The only thing that could possibly be a bummer is if the box turns out to be just impossible to get a hold of.
It's the biggest bummer, I think, because it's limited edition.
Yeah, that's a bit of a bummer. But no, it was interesting to hear what you guys had to say about it too. But yeah,
Well,
that hot take.
what they did say is that they are making a lot. I don't know how much a lot is, but they said they are making a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Hopefully, I don't know if a lot is going to be close to enough, but closer to enough would be good. They take this stuff pretty seriously. The summer releases. Indominus did have a made to order wave, which I think was the right decision. I don't think everybody feels that way. I'm not actually sure how about the two of you feel about it.
What, the made to
Okay.
order?
Indominus had a made to order afterwards.
I mean, I think it was good because, people really wanted the box. So making it made to order was fine. The only bummer with the made to order was, you had to wait longer to get it than everyone
Mhm.
else did. But I mean, I'd rather have wait longer to get than not have it at all, right? It's
Yeah,
kind of like with the Curse City thing, right? And I know
sure.
local hobby shops have it and all that, but get it from the source kind of deal.
Yeah, no, and I agreed on Cursed City of despite like despite the extenuating circumstances of that. Obviously, I couldn't agree more. Like it would be great if that box were easier to get.
Right.
How do you feel about the fact that Indominus had a made to order wave, John?
I think it's a band-aid of the issue that it's limited. Like I really don't like that it's limited edition. Super not a fan of that. Which goes into the conversation of how do we feel about the new style of starter sets where there's I mean I think I could speak for everyone when we say like having different tiers is a good thing, but I think the big talking point in start and I'm sure we'll revisit this when they reveal the AOS starter sets, but the highest tier being just terrain. Well, not just terrain, but like having the mid tier plus terrain as your highest tier, as opposed to just a big box with a lot of miniatures. Instead having like a box with some miniatures and some terrain. That I think that depends on I think my opinion on that will depend on the terrain set. Like the 40k one I don't like because the terrain is I'm just kind of bored of 40k terrain, but I think if the AOS terrain is interesting enough, it would be pretty exciting.
It seems from the preview that the terrain that will be in that box will be new terrain. From what we've seen of the I believe that pardon me, coughing into the microphone, extremely exciting. They did show those new battle mats that are going to be part of the like starter set wall for AOS, and the terrain on there is new terrain, which is kind of cool and might be a selling point of it. I do think the concept of having terrain in the starter set has some legs because you do want some terrain when you're playing the game. Though I also can totally sympathize with the viewpoint that like the 40k terrain is not the most exciting, and it being just existing terrain basically makes it a little less valuable for existing hobbyists who just want to get more stuff.
Right.
But hopefully GW got some data points from the starter sets they did for 40k, which by all accounts are doing well. But yeah, it is a little interesting. Like I basically thought with Dark Imperium and with Soul Wars, like they had made very very solid starter sets, and the shift towards the $200 limited edition starter sets like they're doing for Dominion and Indominus is not something I would have chosen, but I don't make those decisions.
Why you're not the higher ups, Will?
I mean, I'm the lowest of the low at the point, which is, former GW. I have no stake at all. Uh, but yeah, it is interesting. I would be interested to see what they do for the new starter set tier for like the 160, prime rib tier, and then for the $40 hamburger tier. So that's gonna be cool. Um,
Well,
but
we'll
yeah,
have a weeks of drops of information coming out as we get closer and closer to the pre-order date.
yeah, I think we'll probably know second week of June or second week of July. Sorry.
Yeah, well, once the box comes out, because the starter sets for 40k came very not too long after Indominus came out, so probably would be seeing them soon.
Yep.
I'm hoping they do a made to order for this if they do run into supply issues. I personally think even if I gotta wait 3 months for it, like I'd rather get it eventually. I mean, I think obviously you brought up a very good example, Matt, of Cursed City. Like that would be something I think people would have made to order it if it were possible. So yeah, Dominion super hype. It's gonna be awesome, and there's a lot of not just the cool miniatures in there, but like they're making some pretty sweeping changes to the game that I think will potentially allow it to reach a bit of a bit of an audience beyond just having cool miniatures, because that part is usually never in question.
All right. Well, now that that little tangent is over, shall we jump into the news really quick?
We must.
Let's go.
Not too much, given what the past 2 weeks have given in terms of orders, but we're gonna be looking at Sunday preview first. So, looks like all we're getting really, if you care too much, is the Gaunt Ghost minis finally coming to release. Um, again, I think we summarized this. We all said it was pretty cool, but not really interested in it. Not
So
for
these are
us.
$65, by the way.
How much did you say?
Okay. 65.
$65 for 5 models, or 6 models. Sorry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now they're like character level. Like Gaunt is easily like a $20 model, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
On its own. I don't know, I might pick it up just because it's cool.
It's
Especially
really
like
some.
Argrave or something.
Mhm. Oh yeah, that would be fun for Stargrave. They're really some fantastic human sculpts. Nothing demonstrates more the decrepit and shambling nature of the old Imperial Guard sculpts as looking at these. They've learned a lot about sculpting humans in the last 5 years. All 6 of these miniatures, I think, are incredibly well executed in terms of just sculpt fidelity, looking like human beings, like proportions. It's all really cool. Have either of you read any of the Gaunt books?
I have not. No.
Does not involve betrayal between brothers of the transhuman type, so no.
I should have asked, has Matt read the book? 'Cause I know John did not read it because it did not take place 10,000 years before Warhammer 40,000, involving a civil war between superhumans.
Now, if the new book had Jonathan Keeble narrating it, I'll probably pick it up.
It probably will, if they get around to doing an audiobook for it. I've only read Tanith First and Only, and even then, I read that when I was much younger, and probably was a little less persnickety about what I was spending my time reading. But it's Dan Abnett. Dan Abnett is an excellent author, particularly compared to some of his Black Library contemporaries. There's a reason people like these characters, even though like Imperial Guard is absolutely not my choice of Oreo. Like this is this is very exciting for those people, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this might be the third time they've made a model of Gaunt,
I wouldn't be surprised.
because they've had metal ones before that were atrocious.
I couldn't tell you because I don't really get imperial models, so
Yeah, it looks like this is the third Gaunt model they've done.
That Sabbath Rolls thing um seems interesting. Depending on the price, I might pick that up.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually.
Yes, and I am curious about Gaunt's Ghost and as well as talking about with Dan Abnett, because I think Dan Abnett's big weakness is creating overarching narratives that have huge impacts or a huge impact on the lore as a whole.
Hmm.
Um, like wall names, or like the Alpha Legion. I think like some of it is cool, like the Alpha Legion thing, but like some of it's kind of weird, like wall names. So, but Gaunt's Ghost being very self-contained, a self-contained story, like what Gaunt does doesn't really affect the narrative as a whole. And I think
Right.
Abnett shines in that, because his writing is damn solid.
Yeah, I think critics smarter than me have sort of referred to Dan Abnett's collaborative efforts as like he's a great author, but not a great team player in terms of his narrative being supported by and supporting other narratives. For those who might not know, John brought up a very, very salient point about the Imperial Fist wall names, which is a concept that I think is only in the War of the Beast books, which are a sort of between Warhammer 30,000 and Warhammer 40,000 series of novels in which, like, an orc empire of actual, threatening magnitude takes on the Imperium. And the Imperial Fists are revealed to have, like, code names, basically, like wall names, like, in addition to their regular names. Not only is that never mentioned before that book, but because we've had Imperial Fist POV characters in 30K, they haven't even thought about it, which stretches the imagination a little bit. Tanith First and Only, which is the book Gaunt's Ghosts are from. Also, if memory serves, has a number of like canonical conflicts of these things that don't make a lot of sense. But in the context of just that series of books, um, it is very consistent and very well done. So yeah, it's really nice to see somebody else, get their time in the sun for this. The joke I was making to John earlier was how excited we would be if they made a Black Library, miniature collection of the founding members of the Black Legion from the Aaron Dembski Bowden books.
That'd be crazy. I would buy that. Too.
Get in line to get that. That would be so cool.
Well, to answer John's question, looking at Audible here, looks like the first Gaunt's Ghost book is narrated by Toby Longworth. So,
oh, he's a good narrator too.
I guess John won't be listening to it.
Yeah, after I finish that Gotrek and Felix. Yeah, but yeah, okay, that's pretty exciting.
Toby Longworth has a really good narration. I don't think his range of voices is quite as good as Jonathan Keebles, but I mean, Toby Longworth did, I think, the first 3 of the Horus Heresy novels, and he's very, very solid in that. But I mean, Jonathan Keeble is hard to beat for like playing 200 plus characters with different voices, and also doing a killer narration.
I'll have to check out this Jonathan. I know Toby mainly from the Eisenhorn Revenor series.
Yeah,
he narrates those.
yeah, he's spectacular in those. I haven't listened to the whole the first Eisenhorn audiobook. I read it, so it was sort of, I just wanted to listen to it because I had an Audible credit. But his internal monologue is very, very well done. He does a great job with Eisenhorn, and I believe voiced Eisenhorn in the ill-fated video game. But the voice acting was not the problem there.
Yeah, well, it's usually the direction, most of the time. But moving on from this, we also, I mean, I didn't mention it, but you got all these other collector's editions for Gaunt's Ghosts. Very cool for everyone who wants to collect anything from this series. More books, more tokens, more posters, and it just on some other books as well, being on audio.
Yeah, this is interesting. Again, Dead Sky Black Sun, super R-rated. Interesting to see it being given attention on the main website.
I'm gonna pick that up off your guys' recommendation.
It's quite interesting. I don't think you'll want your time back.
It's also cool because we know like Ventress becomes a Primaris. Stuff like that is kind of cool to me.
Absolutely. He has, his story continues, which is an advantage of, like he got an amazing new model, which John was actually nice enough to give me for my birthday this year, which was super cool.
Nice.
There's a lot to like about Ventress. He's kind of defined by being an atypical Ultramarine protagonist, but it is really cool that he's still around in the narrative. Like he wasn't a one and done.
Well, I don't think most Ultramarines are ever a one and done, except Captain Titus from good old Space Marine game.
Or those noobs from Battle for the Abyss. Nobody talks about that book for good reason.
True. And then speaking of guard models that were outdated, we're getting the new and improved guard models and the weapon kit. So IG getting a little bit of love.
It's a fine band-aid, but it is definitely a band-aid.
Yeah, not much is going to be happening here, unfortunately, for the guard players.
It's incredible how much of a difference having a well-sculpted face makes for a human model.
Yeah.
It's such a big deal. Like, we're, of course, biomechanically designed to immediately take note of faces when we look at them. That's why we, there's like those websites that just show, like things with faces that are just like, if you see two dots and a curved line, you see a face.
Hmm.
So having good faces on these models is a kind of inspired idea. If they didn't want to redo the entire kit, it seems like at this point they may just not do that and would probably rather like make a brand new unit that would replace the sort of battle line choice whenever they decide to get back to Imperial Guard with some money behind it. It's
Well,
interesting that this happened because and not like just resculpting the whole unit. It would have been very interesting to be a fly on the wall and hear that decision of like why not make a new unit kit.
Probably just a new regiment is coming in the future.
Mm.
But it's hard, right? Because the thing with guard is it's hard to make standard issue guard. I mean, the Cadian kit has, or the Cadian, in lore, the Cadian uniform is, has been mentioned as being the most ubiquitous guard uniform. But guard has this perception of like it's a big galaxy, so naturally you'd want different regiments and all that. And back in the day when metal models were more common, you got lots of options for different kinds of Imperial Guard regiments.
Right, back when it was more economically viable to do so.
Yeah. So I think it would be cool to see that kind of go away from just the Cadian look being, the forever look, and then seeing different options. That would be kind of cool. And I
well,
think that's gonna be the future of Guard. I think they're kind of done with the Cadian design, especially because Cadia is gone. Um,
well,
now,
that's the hope, right? That's what a lot of guard players are hoping for, since Forge Worlds discontinued and GW discontinued a lot of the metal regiments. Everyone's
right,
hoping that they'll finally get plastics of everything, but that's like a craft world order list right there.
right,
Yeah, I mean they did a Vostroyan made to order for Christmas 2 years ago, um, and the only non-Cadians that are left are the Steel Legion squad, which even though it does go email me for months and months, GW keeps bringing it back. Which, if only that was the unit they decided to make plastic sculpts of. But that's pure wish listing, just because those guys are my favorite.
it'd
Yeah.
be cool to bring back Armageddon.
Well,
Yeah,
it'd be cool if they brought back a lot of the legions, right? Because everyone doesn't like the Cadia style. Everyone has their own favorite legion that has been showcased. Maybe they'll come up with something new. I don't know, but
What are your favorite? What's your favorite regiment, Matt? Let's go around here. So Will is the Legion. What about you, Matt?
uh, God, what are they called? Vostrolians. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, interesting.
Hey, it's the big Russian fluffy hats. Can't go wrong with that.
That's true.
Radukar approves.
What about you, John?
I mean, I'm an old man. Deathcore are cool, but I'm gonna have to say Solar Auxilia are to me the most sci-fi looking Warhammer humans, and I love it. Unfortunately, they are all resin, but whatever. That to me is like normal human in the future.
They got that Fallout Brotherhood of Steel look going.
Yeah, so that's really cool.
Yeah, well, hope for I mean, a lot of armies are hoping for a lot of stuff, but hopefully IG gets something out of this year.
Yep. And
Well,
if, as always, we can continue to wish upon a star that Forge World loses the rights to make their miniatures and Games Workshop makes plastic ones instead.
we can
Yes.
only hope sometimes.
I'm not bitter or anything.
Well, the rest of the news doesn't really matter because we don't care about Blood Bowl, and I think the last thing is just a White Dwarf. So, GW held a little video game event. Did any of you watch this? I'll take the
Kind of.
silence as a no.
Oh, sorry. I was pressing the incorrect button on the push to talk interface on my holocron.
Hmm.
Um, it is interesting, but at the same time, like it's it's really hard to just not think about the Total War Warhammer 2 stuff. Like it comes forefront to the mind. It's like the best Warhammer adaptation in years and years.
Well, I mean, they did give one DLC, the last DLC for Total Warhammer 2.
Yeah, we got Doomslayer,
You got
Wizard.
Beastmen and Lizardmen, which you guys more Total War than I am. I play like
That
once
one
every
is hype.
6 months, but
That one's hype because Beastmen, as in all Warhammer properties, have been neglected, and seeing them get something like a rework. Apparently, this update, like usually when a DLC comes out, they update factions and add new mechanics, and also release a free legendary lord. So people are hoping we're gonna see a free Beastmen lord, um, for like Goros Warhoof or something, and then a Beastmen. Well, we know there's a Beastmen rework coming, so they're gonna have new mechanics and all that, which is kind of nice because they haven't really been touched since the first game several years back. So that's pretty cool. Lizardmen, I mean,
OP.
I'm fine with more. It's more content, which I am happy. I've been playing Total War recently, actually. Playing a Skaven campaign right now, and it's a fun game. It's just fun to like watch your little Warhammer figures move around. Um, and yeah, it's more content is good.
More cinematic.
Yep.
Yeah, well, from my understanding, uh, Beastmen are total trash. Well, most Chaos is pretty trash, just given
Yes.
how they play.
They're so bad that the third game is designed to like make them playable. Uh, and I think they show that right. Total War Warhammer 30 have the Corn reveal.
Yeah, so we can go to that. Oh, and there's like all these blank spots where I'm pretty sure videos are supposed to be, but not showing up on my screen, so I'll just go to the pictures. But yeah, we got to see some corn.
Scarbrand.
Or band. Yeah, so each Chaos God is getting a faction in this game. I hope they just take the Age of Sigmar designs and put them in. I mean, a lot of them could fit, like especially the new Sun Edge, that could definitely fit the old world. I don't think it's too like crazy for Warhammer Fantasy standards.
Yeah. It was interesting to see there are some naysayers who are just opposed to the idea of using the Age of Sigmar designs for the demons, which I think is like that's that you're kind of asking for disappointment. If you wanted them to just like follow the old metal sculpts, like, but
Yeah,
yeah, the mortals, I mean, also could fit in visually really, really easily. Um, Particularly since they're doing like realm of chaos inspired stuff in here. Like it's not just going to be peasant fighting a Viking with a stick. Like we got fire and brimstone. Like this is pretty high fantasy here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just doesn't make sense for GW to use classic models for their game because in the end, this is just a byproduct for people to buy their current models, right? So you're not
Yeah,
gonna
and
put
I
it in. You're not gonna put in an old bloodthirster in there, and then when they're like, "Wow, that's a very cool model," I'll go buy it, and then they get disappointed that the bloodthirster doesn't look anything like it does in the game.
I think that's the reason that there's a vocal minority, I'm gonna call it, of like old hammer people who are opposed to what they're doing for that very reason. That see it as very cynical of like they're using the current designs of the miniatures, which are not as true to what Warhammer Fantasy was when it ended in 2015. I mean, business wise, it makes sense. And GW holds the license for CA. So even if CA had pushed back against that, they have no cards on the table.
It's what GW wants, and you hate the new designs, but honestly, I think the new designs look great. But
Yeah. I mean, I approve. I am not one of those people. Like it's awesome. Um, it also just makes more sense, business wise too. Like, you should want to, go out and get Scarbrand if you get to see him in 3D. Like that just makes sense. It's one of the reasons, Dawn of War 2 was such a big deal. Or Dawn of War 1 as well, for carrying, uh, the 40K hobby through some of the darker times. You could, see the miniature in the video game, and then you go get it in real life.
Well, I mean, I might have this confused. I want to say Soulstorm pushed the flyers out onto the tabletop because the flyers were just becoming a thing in 40K.
Ah,
So they incorporated flyers into the game. I want to say it was Soulstorm that did that.
I think, yeah, because Soulstorm gave flyers for everyone.
Yeah. So I mean, they correlated. So you saw it in the game. You're like, wow, maybe I'll go out and buy a flyer.
That
And
makes sense.
some people probably did after dominating with their flyers. But that's just another marketing for GW. Because remember, even though GW, yeah, I'm gonna say GW. Even though GW puts out a lot of terrible games, a lot of it's just to promote their tabletop. That's because that's their main bread and butter.
right. It's cross marketing.
Yeah. So I mean, personally, I wouldn't want them to make a lot of crappy games, but I mean, it's their license and they're going wild with it. So, but yeah, that was hype for more Total Warhammer 3. I'm terrible at these kind of games, which is
Me too.
ironic because I consider myself a pretty good tabletop gamer, but when it comes to the RTSs, computer games, I'm terrible at these things.
It's the difference of when you can plan your strategy and pause the game, as it were. It's a little different to contend with the real time reflexes.
Yeah,
I definitely feel that too.
but we got that. A lot of stuff that we already kind of went over when we were doing the Total 3 Warhammer news, but we got a new game. Again, the video's missing for some reason. Another AoS game. This is a VR game, I believe, right? Or is this the?
It's a VR game.
Yeah, VR game.
VR game.
We got a Age of Sigmar VR game. I have noticed that GW is really getting into the VR because I know we have that Sisters game that was revealed a long time ago. That was also VR. So, it looks like another AoS Titan, or not Titan, AAA game is coming for AoS.
Yeah, I mean, you're a Stormcast annihilating the undead. That's a cool concept. I have never really played much VR beyond just sort of demos. But it is just kind of cool to see a first-person perspective Age of Sigmar game, which this is the first of.
Well, I know last week, when we were talking about or not last week, whenever we were talking about the Warhammer Plus and the animations, I know we were saying that something that could really benefit would be the AoS universe, since it's young and easy, probably a lot easier to build upon, kind of thing. And I mean, now it's the same thing with the video games. AoS is in their 6th year of existence, or is it more?
Yeah, so it'll be 6 years, because 2015 was the summer that it came out.
So I mean, it's had time to evolve its world and get storylines going where video games can start going on or start making their own stuff about it, or just retelling stories kind of deal. So it's good to see that AoS is finally getting some more stuff.
Yeah.
In terms of will I play this, I mean, I don't have a VR setup. I don't feel like spending like $1,000 on it. But I'm sure it'll be fun for some people. VR is one of those things where you gotta prepare yourself mentally, otherwise you get sick, right?
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
Yeah. But there we go. We got that. The GOG goodie bag. Basically a bunch of stuff. Bunch of what is it? Classic games. Pretty much you can go buy. Not too much there. Warhammer Vermintide 2. The elf is getting a new class. I'm surprised. Have you guys played this game?
I've dabbled in Vermintide.
I have it.
I'm kind of surprised that it's still getting updates. I didn't think it would continue to get support because I know 2019, I want to say it wasn't getting any DLC or anything, and then I know over the last year it's been getting lots and lots of DLC.
I wonder if that's because they're trying to decide whether there's going to be a Vermintide 3. So they might be taking concepts that were from that and moving them ahead to be in this game if they aren't doing a Vermintide 3.
Well, I mean, you would think so. I mean, so yeah, this game was released in 2018, so I got into the game about 2019, and it was like a year of nothing. And then I know 2020 got a lot of stuff. I know they raised the level cap, gave new weapons, new enchants on it, and now we're getting a new class here. So, I mean, it's good to see the game's not dead. I hope Darktide becomes a success and gets the same treatment since it is by the same people.
Yeah.
But so there we go. We got a new class for the elf. I can't remember her name at the moment, but
That is Carillion. You
Carillion.
lumberfoot.
Yes, the one who insults everyone.
She is the meanest member of the team.
Yeah, that's why I play her. Because she's the best.
It's a very elf thing to say, Matt.
Hey, as someone who plays elves in 40k and AoS, I gotta help them. Gotta support them.
Gotta represent the pointies.
Exactly.
On the same note, then there's Darktide.
There's Darktide, and again, I don't know what's wrong with my browser or whatnot, but I don't have a video, so I guess I'm just.
Sometimes these embedded Warhammer community videos don't always work.
Yeah, so I'll just linger on the picture. But we got this. We got more news about Darktide. Kind of.
Ooh, speaking of Dan Abnett.
Yes, well, Dan Abnett's gonna be heading this story, if I recall.
Yeah, it's cool to see this. Though, as much as Dan Abnett usually gets it right, he's not infallible. There are projects he's been attached to that did not work out. He wrote the script for the Ultramarines film that came out in like 2009. For many reasons, that project did not work, did not succeed. But it is cool to have somebody who clearly knows what he's talking about working on this game.
Right. Dan
Not that, not
Abnett's
that, not that they don't know what they're talking about. I should clarify. I'm not saying like Fat Shark or dummies.
right. Well, I mean, Dan Abnett's had more hits than he has misses, so it's not. It could be bad, but I have faith that he can tell a good story.
I mean, the game looks fun too. Just like, I mean, if it's 40k Vermintide, Vermintide seems fun.
Right.
Not so it should be. I'm expecting this game to be solid, and at the very least, it seems fun with friends.
As most of these games are.
Yeah, it has a good pedigree.
I kind of hope that like they did with Vermintide, they integrate like the Twitch thing where people could just vote on it. That'd be fun. I don't know if you guys ever experienced that, but basically, if you're with like a streamer or whatnot, they'll get like little prompts, and the chat could vote on stuff like what do you want to fight, a rat ogre or storm, or what's the other rat ogre called? Storm Fiend. Yeah, and they vote on that, and then whatever wins pops out, kind of deal. So I hope they do something like that, but we'll have to wait and see. Unfortunately, we didn't get a release date for this game. At least I don't think so.
It looks like work is being done though, so that's personally okay with me.
It's just
I think,
on the Steam page, it just says coming, or yeah, release date 2021. So I'm gonna assume late 2021, probably
Yeah.
around October.
Fingers crossed that when they release it, they're ready to release it.
Yes. And then I'd like to play the trailer for this next video, but I can't. But yeah, I was hyped for this, and then I found out it's a mobile game.
Extremely disappointing.
Very cool trailer though.
Cool trailer.
Yeah.
Awesome minute and 15 seconds of animation.
It was great. I mean, it was kind of weird to see a Primaris Marine getting his butt kicked by a normal Chaos Space Marine, but all in all, it looked cool.
Well, Black Legionnaires tend to be quite a bit older than your average Primaris Space Marine.
The Sisters of Battle, the what are they called?
Oh, the winged ones. Yeah.
Instead of parrying the axe makes no sense to me because I read the parrying rules in the 40k FFG RPGs, and it's really hard for a human to parry a Space Marine. I'm just saying. So
That's
I just,
creative
it
license.
looks cool, and it's like, wow, like I know this is impossible in game. Um, so I was laughing at that.
Yeah, it's a cool trailer. I also dig the Asian Sister of Battle. That's dope.
Yeah, it was cool. Again, I was hyped, and then I saw what it was for, and then I was like, oh well. Guess I'm not. I guess I'm gonna pass on this one.
Such is life in the zone.
Yes, but AoS Stormguard. We did know about this. This was released last year.
I mean, game is also okay.
You played this?
Have you played it?
I've read reviews for it. It's okay. It's the same with Hired Gun, which is the next one. Like both these games are okay.
Right. I remember we talked about this last week, where I was like, this game just went completely under the radar. They didn't make any articles about it or anything. What I'm talking about is, the Warhammer community. They didn't highlight anything about this game when it got released, which I found a little concerning. But yeah, from what I understand, it's hexagon RTS kind of game. Kind of like
See, I heard
Civ.
that it was fun, but it only has 3 factions.
Yeah, it's got Stormcast, Nighthaunt, and Nurgle. I don't know if it was Magikines or not, but it was some kind of Nurgle faction.
Yeah, I think it's like a
Oh,
Nurgle
it says
in
right there,
general.
Magikin. So, yeah. From what I heard as well, it has the right stuff. It just needs more. It just needs a little bit more stuff to it, and then it probably would have been a decent game. Oh yeah, we got that. We also got Necromunda Hired Gun. I know, John, you were a little I'll say a little hyped. You wanted to play this.
Decided not to because I read the reviews and like it's okay. Just my video game right now. My video game time, excuse me, right now isn't a lot. So I just play games that I know I'll have fun with. And this one seems okay. So I don't know, maybe when it's on sale or when there's more content or something, I'll pick it up. But it looks cool. Like the presentation is damn good. But yeah, I heard the gameplay just okay.
It gets points for specificity from me. I'm not an enormous Necromunda head, but like if you really like Necromunda, this is like a dream come true to just go and spend time in that setting, and like an intimate, first person environment. But yeah, also just because that's not a setting that I'm crazy about. There was almost no way this game was going to get me.
Well, I'm sure it's better than the RTS that came out. Because I must say, I was very disappointed in that.
Oh,
Shouldn't have let a friend talk me into getting it, but I did. But hey, if the game's okay, I mean that's probably the best thing you can ask for a Warhammer game.
yeah.
Sadly, an okay game is always means there's always hope.
Right.
Blood Bowl 3. I don't really care. I'm not a Blood Bowl person, so I don't know if you guys have any comments on this, but I'm ready to skip.
These games are generally pretty well liked by people who like Blood Bowl, but it's also almost a one-to-one adaptation of the board game. So, like, if you like one, you'll probably like the other one.
Hmm.
But I don't, so it doesn't do anything for me.
All right, so skip. All right, Battle Sector. Wait, is that what it said? Yeah, Battle Sector. This is like that AOS game we were just talking about, Stormguard. It's kind of like that. But with 40k, so we're gonna get Sisters, Blood Angels, and Tyranids.
I know it'll be the first big 40k game that's not a mobile game with Primaris.
True.
That's very exciting.
This game is probably going to be good because the guys who make this Slytherin, like they only make these games. Like all their games are like turn-based grid games. Like I've played some of the games this company has before, and they're generally good because again, that's all they do. They make like a million games, and it's some like historical or like fantasy game that's in a grid. So it's probably, if you like these games, this is probably gonna be good. And the presentation looks nice. I might pick this up as well. It's just like a fun tactical, strategy game or turn-based strategy game. So
Do you guys ever play Gladius? Out of curiosity.
no, also made by these guys, right? Have you played
Okay,
Gladius?
that's what I figured. I have it. I just never played it because I got a lot. I got a lot of games I need to get through. So
Yeah, I heard the game was good, but it suffers from DLC, where like you'd really need to get all the download, like all the DLC packs to really enjoy the game.
right. Well,
So
unfortunately,
yeah,
that's the era we live in. You gotta
right.
get a lot of DLC to get the great experience of a lot of stuff.
Right.
But
Um,
okay. Well, I'm a little excited about this now, so maybe I will pick it up. AOS Soul Arena. This is their auto
Shockingly
battler,
terrible.
right?
So awful.
I don't have a picture unfortunately, so we're just gonna be looking at a blank screen here.
And I
Yeah.
think it's a little bit better
I
than
don't like
looking
the
at it.
chibi designs at all.
Yeah,
Auto
swing and a
battlers are
miss.
terrible in my opinion, but you know, people or who made it famous? Was it League or was it Dota?
I think whole like always Dota invented it, and then
And then
like
League stole
League
it.
made a no, not well, not steal, but League made its own version, and League having more players, it exposed it to more people. And they promoted it also way better. And it got popular.
That's money for you.
That's money for you. I mean, I would care if they did it if it didn't try to look cute. And I like cute things, I like cats and dogs, but like this is just trying too hard in my opinion.
Hmm.
So gonna pass on this one. I like how the Beast and Nurgle looks the same though.
Okay, well,
That is pretty funny.
we got that. We also got Warhammer Quest Silver Tower. Um,
By all accounts, those are enjoyable games if you like that incredibly specific subgenre of mobile game that it is. The first one still seems to have pretty positive reviews. I imagine it's going to be more of the same.
Oh, the first Warhammer Quest game is great. I still play it once in a while when I'm like waiting at like I don't know, like a DMV or something.
well, there you go. If John's playing it, that means it's got the okay.
If it can guide you through the soul crushing darkness of the DMV, I mean that's high praise right there.
Yeah, and then let's see what else we got. We got another game, Shoot Blood. Shoot His Blood and Teeth. It's an orc game, more to the orc style. It's very cartoony. Again, all I can show
This
you
is
is this
super
picture.
cool.
Yeah, this looks really cool. It's unique and in a way that makes sense. It's like comedic and silly and gory and kind of an orc makes sense for an orc themed video game.
Yeah, it looks like particularly comparing it to other 40k video games, which are like a little more polished. This looks like the orcs retelling it with their sort of like cartoony art style. It works for this in a way that it does not work for Soul Arena because the premise of this game justifies its presentation.
All right.
Yes.
I'm playing the video right now, just so people can actually see what we're talking about. But yeah, it's it is very unique, and I don't know, I might pick it up. Definitely, it looks like a co-op game, so play with a bunch of friends, get that going.
It's also just you can fight a Lehman Russ with the Punisher cannon, which is amazing.
I'm
There's
getting
orcs saving their tribe from the humans.
yeah, I'm getting some Metal Slug vibes from it.
Like Alien Hominid.
Yeah, but yeah, it looks cool. I'm looking forward to it. The next one, get this off screen. Can't get it off screen. All right. Battle Sister. So this is the VR Sisters game that we knew about from back in like December. Not much to say there because we kind of already talked about it and gave our opinions on it. But yeah, it's okay. More VR, more experimentation, I guess, to feel like a Sisters of Battle, purging the heretics. Then we got Warhammer Online, Underworlds Online. Sorry. From what I understand, this is just Warhammer Underworlds, just digital.
Yeah.
This was free, and I didn't get it.
Well, I mean, it's not free. It was just free to play for a little bit.
It's free if you downloaded it like until June. Well, it's actually free right now. If you download it now, it's free. You get to keep it.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I
But
will download, but we'll see.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just not a fan of video game adaptations of board games. I
It's
hate
just the
raging.
same.
I just rage at dice when it's. I never rage at dice in person, but I always rage when I'm playing. When the computer like gets box cars, I just get mad unreasonably.
Yeah. This is mostly only cool for me just to see, the 3D. The art is cool. Like that's sort of the reason that this is something that I'm even gonna linger on when I'm scrolling through it. But yeah, I'm generally not, I'm not looking to video games to give me the same experience as a board game, but in a video game format. What is funny about this is the warband they're highlighting here was the original warband from Warhammer Underworld Shadespire, which was the first set. Uh, these guys did not make it into the original version of Warhammer Underworlds Online, presumably because the developers thought they were not cool enough to carry the beta. But they finally made it, which is funny.
Well, good for them finally making it into the game that they were originally a part of.
Made the game that they were the starter set of. They, they look well realized in 3D, but this game really isn't innovating in any way.
Yeah, I figured. But there we go. We got that news coming, and then I think the only important news that isn't just DLC that we're getting is a Chaos Gate Demon Hunters for 40k. It looks like we're finally gonna be playing a Grey Knight.
This game is written by Aaron Dembski, which means nothing to me. It's because the game has to be good. Kind of
Yeah.
like Dark Tide. I mean, yeah, it's Dan Abnett, but like the game has to be solid for me to care. I mean, Chaos Gate, that's an old game, right? And it's interesting that they're bringing that back. So hopefully it's good, but we will see.
I didn't even realize. I didn't even read it.
Chaos Gate is sort of remembered more for its soundtrack than anything else. So it'll be cool that there's another game in that series, but I think it's been a long time since the last one, so it might as well be the game in that name only.
Skulls is the annual celebration of Warhammer.
I see. Well, that's pretty much all the game news, really, because everything else here is just DLC. Got Relics of War for Gladius. Warhammer Conquest is getting something. It's getting demons.
The
That's just
Daka
another.
Squadron game looks like kind of fun.
The Daka
No.
Squadron.
Yeah.
Isn't That's old though. That's been out for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't know it existed, and it's like, well, this is kind of cool.
Oops. Yeah, I. It was meh to me, unfortunately. Mechanicus, uh, getting something. World of Tank collaboration, and warships getting stuff. It'd be interesting if I could show people what's on screen, but I can't because the links aren't working for some reason. There you go. And then a bunch of other stuff. Also, big news is, as John mentioned earlier, some games are free on Steam at least, and a big sale going on right now till about June 12th, I want to say. I can't really remember. On this and Epic, I believe. So now's your time.
The most brain scrambling thing in this entire page, though, is the Karanak thing for Chaos and Conquest using Karanak's old design.
Oh yeah, it is.
That is so weird. Like, he's had a new model for a while.
I think it's because it's an old game.
It's
Right,
funny because it echoes back then to the the thing we were talking about earlier of like people being annoyed that they're adapting the new designs to the old world.
Mm.
This is foolhardy. This is the opposite. This is like, let's use the crappy worse version of the miniature to try to hype people up. And
Well,
now we can see in all of his glory that it's just the old flesh hound with 3 heads. Hey, that's what Karanak is anyway, but like, come on, man.
they always do corn dirty. Never gets the respect. But yeah, that's that. I don't know if did you guys pick up anything on these sales or whatnot?
I got some DLC for Total War Warhammer they didn't have. That was kind of it.
Yeah.
Not I.
Yeah, I picked up some Total War Hammer 2 DLC. Particular all the terrible races that I didn't have from Total Warhammer 1, which was Beastmen, Warriors, and Wood Elves. Which I hear are all very bad, but I guess I'll get to experience that.
So they're playable now.
Yeah, I heard they were playable once that Total Warhammer 2 DLC came out for them, but before that I heard they were pretty unfun to play. But we're done with this news. Now we can get to some AoS rules, shall we? Starting with which one is this? No, go here. The heroes. Will, would you like to start us off with this? Because I know you were excited about some rules.
So here's the thing. Age of Sigmar is not a game that I take very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is, in the same food group as a number of other tabletop war games that are, you're here because there's cool miniatures, there's fun background, you want to paint some plastic, and you want it to do stuff on the table. If the minis alone, are the thing that you're there for, that's great. But basically, nobody wouldn't want the game to be more fun at the same time. You lose nothing by it being the case. Owning a Warhammer Age of Sigmar model, it's like owning a sports car. They're really nice. They ain't cheap, and they're kind of, you get the mileage out of them that you put into it. It's great if you can actually take it to its maximum speed. Like this is cool that they're adding like more abilities. There's more like flexible things you can do during your turn. In a very similar way as like the monster stuff that we'll probably talk about in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
All these new heroic abilities just offer more ways to interact with the rules and interact with your opponent, interact with the game. All of this is welcome. Rule ramifications of them, I'm sure some things are super OP because of these changes. Some things will probably be worse. That's kind of always how the ship sails. But this and the changes they're making to endless spells and to monsters, all totally welcome. It's just it's stuff that doesn't make the game incredibly complicated. Like you don't need a protractor to use any of these rules. You know, it's just more stuff you can do or not do if you don't want to. But it just makes the game a little bit more. Um, that's why all of these are cool. It's so early in the news that we have about AOS 3 that it's a little too soon to say what the actual balance ramifications will be of these, since we know they're removing battalions and they're doing a few other sweeping changes that is just going to kind of rewrite the meta.
Hmm.
But I think these abilities are conceptually really interesting, which sometimes is the case with Age of Sigmar things where they come up with something that in concept is awesome and then nobody uses it, kind of like endless spells, which we'll be talking about soon. What
Yeah.
do you guys think of these heroic ability? What do you think of these as a concept?
Well, I mean, it gives your now. I don't know Will's experience. I know John has way more experience in AOS than I do. I consider myself still pretty newbie at this, but it's gonna give some heroes a lot more stuff to do, right? Your basic generals that don't have the command traits to do anything,
Or if their
especially
command ability sucks?
yeah, that too. So now you have a reason to take like a cheap hero, right? If one of these things fits what you needed to do, take a cheap hero, and then there you go. You got access to abilities that they can use that would be beneficial
Yeah,
instead of just uh he hits hard kind of deal.
yeah. What a good idea. What do you think, John?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was too busy painting my blood knights because I'm super hyped about this game. Uh, Sorry, joke aside. I'm super hyped. There's more interesting stuff. I like the decision making aspect where like, oh, do I have to use this command ability? I think strategy. It reminds me of stratagems in 40k, but I like honestly stratagems were the best. I mean, you guys can disagree, maybe you Matt, or were in early eighth when you didn't have too much of it, especially when the game first started. You just had like reroll um reroll the dice. That was super cool because everyone had that equal playing field. And I think having access to these universal command abilities makes the game more interesting while not necessarily giving more complexities to specific factions by by having specific sets of stratagem, or in this case command abilities. I mean, command abilities already exist anyway for factions. It's just a different ways of using them. Well, because of command points, generating command points is slightly different now. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, having universal command abilities that it just adds another layer of tactics and decision making, but it's not too overwhelming, right?
Yeah, and you don't have to do them.
Correct.
Like, yes, you can, but like, it's very modular, and it's like, yeah, it's your heroic action abilities. It's probably not game changing, but it's another choice to make outside of like what your list is and where you deployed. Um, you know, it's very hard to say if they'll have a significant impact on the game. But it's just nice to have more things that engage you with the rule sets beyond these models are really cool and the game works. The
Right.
game is a game that you can play.
I could see these command abilities being very powerful if you use them in the right situations, like +1 to wound on your hero. Like if that's like
Yeah,
Archaon can use that, right? That's pretty awesome. Or like
sure. He would be happy to have that.
yeah, like healing, heroic recovery. That's pretty cool. Again, our like Gordrak, right? Healing D3 wounds. Um, Stuff like that. But yeah, like it doesn't seem incredibly powerful like transhuman physiology or um doing something like that, right? For 40k.
Right.
It's just a layer of again of minor buffs, at worst, and at best it could be game changing when you get the +1 to wound and your Gordrak finally beats up Kragnos. Um
Yeah,
it should be super cool.
they're adding more universal special rules though. And I think more keywords, which I think is wise in this case. As I'm sure you noticed on one of the later posts, ward saves have returned to the game.
Yep.
They're not just
Yeah.
called, FN Feel No Pains, or they're not called like Stoic Resolve, or like Plagued Resilience. We got
I
words
think
back.
I think that's great. I think there's a point where like simple USRs would just make the game streamlined, right? Like for 40k, like I always just say deep strike because it's that mechanic where you deploy 9 inches away from the enemy, despite the fact that it could be manta strike or like tactical deployment or teleport assault. It's the same mechanic, and just having the same name for that just makes sense. It makes it easy.
Yeah,
Same for
and
ward, right? Like um if you see ward, then you just remember, okay, it's that save after save thing. And because
right.
beforehand, like it was like that anyway. I think it's actually more streamlined in this case. And now, yes, you have to refer back to the rule book, but
Well,
you're gonna refer back to your war scroll anyway, right?
Hmm.
well, we
Um,
don't know if the ward save is gonna work like old fantasy kind of thing, right?
no,
Oh,
we know
it'll.
we know it's just feel no pain. Ward saves are feel no pain. That's what it is.
We're pretty sure that's what it is.
Oh, okay.
They're just trying to, give a term for those things. Like, I also appreciated how for endless prayers, which is a fan term for those, for like endless spells that are not actually cast by wizards. They're called invocations now. That's their official rule term. It just clears it up. It's just more sensible, and like, yeah, I guess it's a couple more sentences of rules to learn, but then you know it, and you're on an even playing field. And that's a term that they can then use to make more concise and clear rules as they go down with the rule set. So those changes overall are very welcome.
And
I
I
mean,
think
Age of Sigmar is. Oh, sorry, John, what'd you
oh,
say?
go ahead. What are you gonna add?
Age of Sigmar has only had 2 editions before this one. It's kind of they have a good track record of, like, the next edition is better than the previous one because they've just iterated on the things that made sense. Or they've just made, they've added more to the core rules, not so much that it's overwhelming, but they've added more to make the game easier to remember, and easier to actually muddle through what your war scroll says.
Exactly. And I think USRs work if they're simplified like that, where you're
Mhm.
just taking a thing that like a rule that many factions have or many units have, and then just simplify and saying this is what the rule's called, which is ward. I think USRs get crazy when you have something like in 30k where you have shrouded and stealth, and they're two USRs, but Shrouded gives you a 5-up cover save,
Right.
and Stealth gives you 4-up. Now I may be wrong, but that's the difference. It's like the difference in those rules is what like is +1 cover save between them. There doesn't need to be 2 rules.
Right.
Stuff like that, right? Ward being feel no pain. Okay, that makes sense because it's a rule that all factions, I'm sure every faction has some kind of ward in one of their war
Yeah.
scrolls or spell effects.
It's
So
a
it just
good
makes
shorthand.
yeah.
We use abbreviations and we use shorthand in real life for all kinds of things because guess what? It just makes sense.
It's like movement, like it's you're not gonna say this unit can, at the movement phase will move 5 inches for each war scroll. You just have a 1 page in the rule book that covers movement, and same thing, right? Um, yeah. So I like that the streamlining they're doing there when it comes to it's funny because it feels like it's more complicated, but to me it streamlines the game because it's just refer to this thing. Also, when
Y-
they FAQ it, easy changes. FAQ the rule itself. Done.
Yeah, really easy to do that. I like the monstrous abilities too. The monstrous abilities are, they're a fluffy thing that makes sense. That will make monsters worth more value because right now monsters are not the best. But like they can roar, they can smash faction terrain, which is kind of cool. It's very thematic, and I think thematic rules are something that Warhammer in general tends to do well. Neither version of Warhammer I think is the best written wargame rule set, but like they do a good job of being thematic and enjoyable and having a real identity, which is a long-winded way of saying the rules are fluffy. It makes sense that your giant cow monster can roar at the enemy, and that they would not be able to hear the commands of their commander, right? That's just cool. It makes sense.
Yeah.
All of that is welcome.
I was kind of hesitant about the smash to rubble rule where it can destroy faction train. Then I remembered faction train is free, so I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It's free. You're not paying points for it, right? To be instantly
Yeah,
destroyed.
I mean, like, I have Gloomspike Gits, and the Gloomspike Git, scenery piece is amazingly stupidly good for Gloomspites. Like, it's basically their allegiance ability. But also, if your giant, man crusher gargant shows up and topples it over, it makes sense. Like, that's where the goblins are coming out of. You should go break it. It's not, it's not gamey in its execution.
Right.
Right. Well, there's also the other rule that I'm sure you two saw coming, but the command points being who getting more if you go second kind of deal.
Mm.
So I don't know. Do you think that's obviously going to make a huge change now that everything costs command points, right?
It's it's really hard to say without seeing the full picture of like what the new general command abilities will be, what the new general battalions are going to be. But I think they're trying to take a little bit of the edge off of the priority role, which is a rule that's very much a part of AOS's identity, but it's not a rule that everybody necessarily agrees with. Personally, I don't think the priority role is quite as game defining as the role to go first in Warhammer 40,000 is. But there definitely would be people who would argue that it's just as important, if not more so. Endless spells are also getting a change to that going second thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, we can go over the spells and prayers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like how you wizards are able to control endless spells more reliably now. I think the rule is if like one of your wizards can control a wild endless spell if you're within 30 inches of it.
If they
so,
Um,
if they cast it.
if they
so,
cast it.
so to take a leaf out of John's book here and the tome of hot takes, I think endless spells are the best gameplay concept Age of Sigmar has ever done on paper. It's really really game defining of like having like the magic is a model itself. Like you have all of these crazy spells that just like they do in Total War Warhammer, like they come to life, they go and they do things, and they're represented by a miniature. That's totally unique to Age of Sigmar, at least in my experience it is. But unfortunately not a lot of people use them, or there's only a few that get used a lot, Seraphon being, the big exception. I think anything they can do to try to galvanize people to take these more is a good idea. Because endless spells are it's a distinctly Age of Sigmar thing. And it sells the immersion of the game. Um, there's definitely going to be some balance issues with these changes they've proposed, though. There were some spells they're going to have to rewrite, in my opinion.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. It's not like you get to control multiple endless spells, because they do say that if there's more than one predatory one, you know, you get to pick one and that's it. Yeah, and then your opponent gets to choose the other one.
But some they're endless spells that are not predatory. Like it's interesting they highlighted Darkfire Demon Rift, which is the Slaves to Darkness predatory endless spell, which is the it's the demonic chaos star breathing like a little cloud of fire. Super cool model. That spell is crazy in the context of these rules changes. The way it works, if you haven't seen it before, is it's basically just a sort of straightforward endless spell of like it flies over you and you take D3 mortal wounds. It does a fair amount of damage, but it like exponentially increases in power and mortal wounds based on how many spellcasters and how many endless spells are on the field with it. So like if you're playing Zinch and you have this thing, and then the new rules, it's going to be moving, in every hero phase, the damage per turn can get outrageous without too much, without too many of the stars aligning perfectly. I don't know if Games Workshop will actually have play tested that particular spell, or if they're planning on rewriting certain spells. But I would much rather endless spells were too good than not good at all, just because it's such a rarity to see them.
Well, I think you're right. I'm newbie, so I don't know too much. I use the Blood Rack Viper because why wouldn't I want a giant snake on the field?
Yeah,
That's not too crazy, but yeah, I guess something that crazy would definitely be on the chopping block to being reworked.
like if you have 6 wizards in your army and you've summoned like 2 backup endless spells, you can do something like 60 mortal wounds with the Darkfire Demon Rift, like in one turn. Under perfect circumstances, like if it always has something to fly over, that's it's got to be a mistake.
That's why I bring 65 zombies.
65 zombies, that does not matter. And yeah, and like right there, and maybe it's not a big deal. Game balance has never been something that Games Workshop has particularly been the best in the field at, but they do come up with cool ideas and cool rules and cool minis. So I really am hoping that this turns endless spells around. It's very nice to know that they haven't kind of given up on it, because some endless spells have made an impact, but it would be nice for them to be a little more commonplace. Now, also that people aren't paying as many points for battalions, now there's some more points in the list to potentially take them. I think it's too bad that Soulblight didn't get them. If I'm more glad that Soulblight got like models redone in their units as opposed to getting less, unit reworks and more endless spells or faction terrain. But endless spells are, Age of Sigmar, 100%.
Well, that could
So
be just something later for 3.0, you know?
yeah, that's true.
Maybe that's what they're waiting for. Playtesting it out kind of deal. But what also got reworked in here was priests and
Hmm.
invocations. So priests got two more things. They got bless and smite.
Yeah, this is really cool. Um, Giving your keyword giving the keywords more stuff to do is really nice. Like having options without having an overwhelming amount of options. There's a good balance to be found there.
Yep, and going with bless right there. There it is. 6+ ward save right there.
Mhm.
So we're getting that. And then also with them is priests being able to dispel other invocations. I don't know if that
And
was a thing or not, but
there were some priests who kind of could get the ability to do it. I particularly like the one where priests attack other priests, of
mhm.
like priests who hate other priests for believing differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so that's a nice thing. I have one of our I have a newbie who's also playing AoS and he runs what are the corn guys called?
Blades of Corn.
Blades of Corn. So, he's been summoning all those invocations, making it hard to do spell casting. So be nice to use my daughter's arcane to dispel those invocations out of here.
Yeah, super cool. All of these changes, at risk of sounding like a broken record that only says positive things about AOS 3.0, it's all very promising on paper right now.
Yep. Well, that's how it always is until we actually get the meat and potatoes of the thing.
Yeah, key term being on
Can't
paper.
be worse than 40k. Kind of like 40k. It can't be as bad as trying to make a Mechanicus army and figuring out which of the 10 special rules you're going to use for your Scutari today.
Nothing they've revealed has quite the same level of complexity as that.
Well, the last thing I wanted to look over was the Dominion release date. It's kind of all I really care about. So we finally got it. A pre-order June 19th. And it's like John said, it's going to be a 2-week pre-order kind of deal. So we're not going to see this till uh for us Americans Independence weekend. July 3rd. So, how long do you think this will last on shelves? Or internet store, I should say.
30 minutes.
30 minutes?
30 minutes from pre-order. That's my
Hoping for 2 hours.
Open for 2 hours. Okay.
way too long. Indominus was 5 minutes. So
Well,
well,
Warhammer 40,000 is a bigger
yeah.
property, and they learned from Indominus. So I'm hoping that this is not a refresh and get the cart out as fast as possible. Um, Particularly because I suspect that other things have not been brought back into stock, so they can make more of this box.
45
But
minutes.
yeah, hey, that would be great. Just not, please don't be 5 minutes or
Yeah, I
something.
hope it's on Indominus. Indominus is the only set I could not get in time. And I've got everything else I wanted, I've got it in time.
All right, so we got 45 minutes to 2 hours. We'll see. We'll see who's closest on that. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else really out of this. A small rule book, which is
The
probably
terrain,
the only thing I really care about.
the Gurish expands terrain, if you look, or that board, the box
Yep, new
art that has
terrain.
that new terrain, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, like we were talking about earlier. So hopefully that's going to be that new terrain will be the things in the terrain version of the starter set. Just because that would make it a more appealing purchase, not just for new players.
It's so funny, like we're hanging out on the weekend. Holly Buddies Will was there, and everyone was hyped about these new paints. I wasn't. I'm like, that's cool, new paints. I was like, oh my gosh, Orc Flesh. That's exactly what I needed from like my Astra Militarum. Holy crap. And it was like, oh my gosh, like I forgot which one you were hyped about, Will, but you were hyped about one of these.
That's interesting. I don't remember this conversation at all. This must have been before I was there, because I am incredibly hype about these paints, but I don't think I said a word about it.
It was Christian, not Christian. Yeah, Christian and Fig were like hyped about these.
Oh, more paint is great.
Yeah, more paint
Uh,
is always good.
yeah, that's can't possibly poo-poo having more paint. I like how in that anecdote, John said he was hanging with his hobby buddies, and Will was there also. It's like that one guy.
Will joins
Uh,
every once in a while, you know.
yeah, yeah, it's cool. New paint is useful, particularly because like these more base paints, base paints, Citadel base paints are incredibly versatile. You can do so much with them. I mean, if everybody who played these hobbies just did a base paint, a shade, and then dry brushed with the same base paint, we would have way less gray in the world.
Yep, it's just getting the motivation to do it, right?
Yep.
But yeah, there we go. We finally got it. I predicted that this thing was gonna go on pre-order this week. Unfortunately, I was wrong. Right?
Pretty close.
I was close, but it's coming out soon, which is funny because I know here in LA we got the cafe opening up this Saturday,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah, people are gonna go get that Chaos Warrior.
and the
Well, in theory,
article said that they were going to be playing 3.0.
maybe they'll be showing some of it off. That would be surprising.
Maybe, I don't know. I just remember it in the article. I'd have to pull it up again, but I do recall him saying that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think we've talked a lot about this. Shall we go to hobby rants?
Let's do it.
So Will, we're gonna start with you because you've been gone for 2 weeks. How things been?
That's fair. Yeah, been busy. Been busy with non-tiny plastic people stuff. Um, I have been painting things mostly for like non-army projects. I've been painting stuff for Cursed City. I've been painting stuff for Rangers of Shadow Deep, which is as a so-called miniatures agnostic game where it's kind of like a cooperative skirmish game where as opposed to having warbands fighting against your buddies, like you and your buddies are a warband, and you like take on adventures. So that's been pretty fun. Good excuse to paint things that I otherwise wouldn't be painting, and just that's how I think we improve as painters, is just exploring and trying new stuff. That's if you go outside of what you're used to, then you can you know you can
Grow.
learn new skills. Yeah, I mean that's obviously sage wisdom that everybody has heard. Did not come from me, and I probably, probably just reiterating that from when I last heard it. But yeah, it's fun to paint stuff that's not necessarily an army. Though I did recently discover that if I just paint 3 more Rock Gut Trogos, I will have a fully painted and based 1,000 points of Gloomspite kits. So if
Nice.
I paint 1/9 of a troll every day until the release of 3.0, I'll have a 1K army done.
Awesome. We'll look forward to seeing it.
I painted no trolls today, so setting that bar a little higher now.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
How about you, John?
Yeah, just been almost finished my Blood Knights. I'm just finishing up this banner, which is cool because it's sculpted into the flag, so I don't have to do some shenanigans. Yeah, just working on that, and um, gonna paint some more skeletons. Played some Rangers of Shadow Deep, like Will mentioned, so that was fun. Just getting ready for the new edition, honestly. Like Rangers of Shadow Deep, it's because it's miniatures agnostic. Like Will said, we've just been using our AOS miniatures, which kind of builds the AOS hype a bit. So that's pretty exciting.
We've also been theming it as like AOS adventures, which is fun and something that the game really lets you do.
Yeah.
Cool.
What you,
Yeah.
Matt?
Me? Well, I played AOS again. Again, just getting into it.
Getting those last 2.0 games in.
Well, like I said, this group is all new to AOS, so we might as well learn a little bit about it again, and then so we'll be semi-prepared for 3.0. Plus, gotta get hyped for it. Night Haunt. I can't believe how stupidly broken they are sometimes.
They do have some. They do have some very unique abilities. They all fly and they're all ethereal.
Well, it's the whole charging like 10 plus kind of deal and being able to attack
Oh yeah.
immediately. Oh, I definitely ruined someone's day doing that twice.
Sixes did.
Yeah, you don't even have to. You don't even have to roll double sixes, but I did. I did roll double sixes twice, but that was fun. So I'll probably have to get them painted up. It's just, I'm torn between Daughters of Cain and Night Haunt on who I want to paint. I know I could get Night Hunt on a lot faster than I could Daughters of Cain, but I digress.
Painting a small force of both, I think, puts you in a fun position. Because then you can have more than one choice when you show up to play a game with your buddy.
True. I'm probably painting up the Daughters of Cain because I really love running that endless spell, Blood Rack Viper.
Yeah, and you got a Marathi.
True. Also, last week, I think it might have been opened up earlier, but LVO went on sale for 2020 or 2022. Sorry. So I bought my tickets for that 40K tournament. Hoping I'll be able to go down there and get into a big tournament again. So I gotta start ramping up my 40K games again. Start figuring out what's good and what's not. But excited to go since I've been going since 2019. And obviously 2021 was impossible for us to go, but we're going to continue again this year with my other gaming group.
Yeah, I was talking with some friends about going. We just don't know which event to play. Either 30K Legion or just bring up with like our 3D printed Epic and then just throw off. I don't know. Yeah, not sure yet. Not sure yet.
It's a fun event. I'd recommend going at least once if you're, want to go out and fight other people from around the states or the world sometimes.
It's also just really fun to go for the other things too. Like the painting classes are really enjoyable, and like seeing all of the independent retailers who like make weird stuff that you only get to see in images online. Like the only time I've been to LVO, like I didn't have a ticket to any of the events really, and it was a blast. There's just a lot to do. and it's a very exciting and positive con to go to.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun, except for you when the when the app for deciding who your pairings are doesn't
Yes,
work. But
I was there for that. That was amazing.
wait, were you at 2020?
I was at 2020. Yeah, I was there for the. I was talking to someone who was in the tournament when the thing crashed.
Oh
That was
darn!
crazy.
I wish you would have told me you were there. I didn't know.
I'll see you at the next one.
Oh, all right then. Well, next one's gonna be at the Rio. It's usually held at what was the other place called? I can't
Oh,
recall.
can't recall either.
But this
But
this one's gonna be held at the Rio this time, so completely different venue from 2019, 2020. So we'll have to wait and see. My group will probably get the same Airbnb that we've gotten the last two times, very close. So I'm excited because as much as I like gaming with my friends here, it's nice to play against someone else and see how their strategies are and what they're playing instead of the same armies over and over again kind of thing.
it's also just cool to see how many people are around you are actually excited about the same hobby as you, and they're not just YouTube comments.
Yeah, that is true. I remember 2019 when I went there. This is where I met Greg, who's been on the podcast. Um, he had the unfortunate pleasure of battling a guy who fainted at the table. I still remember that.
Whoa.
It was interesting, but yeah. Hopefully nothing like that happens. But that was quite the experience thing to happen. Plus, it's also Vegas, so there's a lot of fun stuff to do as long as the tournament doesn't hold you up. I know we like to go to a lot of escape rooms after the tournament. We went to like a Saw theme one.
Oh,
Terrible.
that's kind of cool.
Terrible. It was awful.
Doesn't sound so terrible in theory, but yeah, that's funny. But if it was terrible, at least it was memorable.
Yeah, I mean, it was my gaming group, and then there was like four other randos with us. But all in all, it was fun memories. Terrible attraction. But yeah, that's that. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to add before we close up here.
The only thing is that fingers crossed that the Warhammer Cafe launch goes well. That is something that today John and I decided we were going to go to.
You guys are actually gonna go?
Yeah, might as well. I mean,
Yeah, we're going to give it a shot. The Warhammer Citadel did not necessarily have the easiest launch, and this one is this is going to be a launch with masks on. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be different. And they're doing something infuriating. Not the store, not the store, but the decision was made to make exclusive miniatures just for the launch of this shop, and also I think there's a couple like tournaments that are happening throughout the next year, but limited edition sculpts drive me crazy. Um, if we can get it, awesome. If we can't, sucks to be me, I guess. I wish they wouldn't do this, but it does get the butt out of the chair and over to the shop.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure there'll be a line outside, given
Yeah,
given the restrictions, since we're not technically off these restrictions until next week. The county, you know.
right. It should be interesting. Haven't seen hair nor hide of the inside of the shop, just because they haven't showed pictures of it online. But it could be potentially extremely exciting. It is the second of its kind in the U.S. And like if it becomes like a big destination store for people who live, within driving distance of it, it might be kind of a game changer, particularly when things open up for gaming and hobby within stores again.
Well, maybe I'll see you guys there. I haven't really decided if I'm going to go there or not yet. But we shall see. So,
Indeed.
we'll call it there. Thanks for everyone for listening, and we'll catch you all next time.
Later, guys.
Until next time.